Last week, the final PTS for Grounded opened up, and with it came major changes to armor and weapon upgrades, as well as changes to cooking meals and various other aspects of the game. One thing that hasn't been seen as of this recording is the new system that will be added sometime during the PTS, and in this video, I'm going to discuss what that new system could be. As some of you may know, there was an accidental leak of a dev build, and that's why the Xbox Insider Hub version of the PTS was taken down. I did not gain access to or see that dev build, and everything discussed in this video is speculation on my part. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started. So what I want to do in this video is discuss 4 possible features that could be coming in this public test server. Of course, they said there's one coming, so I'm just going to give 4 that I think might be that one. I'm going to start with one that's on the feature board that's been on there forever, and I think it's probably between this one and the second one is going to be the most likely feature that's added. The second one's going to be related to an item that was in a previous public test server build, but was removed from it pretty quickly, and we've not seen it since then. The third and fourth features are highly requested features. At least the third one is. The fourth one I've seen asked about before that could possibly get added. There's never been mention of them on the feature board, and honestly, at least one of them I know of for sure has been said was not planned. But you never know, because they're such highly requested features. There's a possibility that they are going to get added. So let's start off with the first one, and I'm pretty sure you probably know what that is because I'm staring at a sprinkler here. That's going to be weather. There is a weather system listed on the feature board. It's one of the few features left on there that has not been currently added to the game. And I personally think that this is probably, like I said, with this and the second one I'm going to talk about, are going to be one of the top two that are most likely to happen. And honestly, a weather system would definitely need to be tested because, especially if it's rain or if just the sprinklers turn on, having water on the map, whether it's just puddling up things or if it's actually causing rivers, like as an example, if this sprinkler turned on right here, very likely these little caverns down here will be flooded and have like little streams or maybe even rivers running through them, depending on how much water came out. So I think, like I said, the most likely scenario is going to be that the sprinklers turn on. That would probably be the easiest way to incorporate weather because it would just be some water sprinkling around the map. It wouldn't be like a torrential downpour. Now, they could also very well just add other types of weather. They could add an actual rainstorm. They could actually add fog. Maybe they could add wind or something like that. But what they need to do is make sure that it doesn't impact people's builds because, as an example, let's say you just built a base and they added rain. A raindrop built on the bases we build in this game would probably just, like a storm would just completely destroy it more likely than not, especially the ones that are made out of grass and stuff like that. So I think weather is a high probability and it definitely needs to be tested if it's added to see how it impacts gameplay. I would definitely like to see this. Of all the features that have not been added to the game so far, that would be the one that I would most likely want to see because the sprinkler system did turn on in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie, and that kind of created the rain scenario. I believe A Bug's Life also had weather in it as well with rain. So I think rain would be the most likely weather system to be added, and it would most likely come from the sprinklers and not actually like a complete weather system, although I could be wrong. Let me know what kind of weather you think is most likely to happen, if it does happen, in the comments down below. Now, the second one's going to be an item that I don't believe it's probably still not in here. It was in a previous test build under one of these building things down here. I'm just going to quickly go to the bottom just to make sure they didn't accidentally put it back in here. It was, I think I do have a clip of it from an older video, but I don't remember which video it was in. Basically, there was a coziness meter. What the coziness meter looked like was it actually looked like, I think, one of these wall mounts. So it kind of looked like the weapon wall mount, and that's the art that was for it. It didn't really have anything. When I tried to build it, because it was only available in a creative build back in, it was a couple updates ago, so it was probably like 6 or so months ago. I tried to place it and it crashed the game because it was not meant to be in the game. What would a coziness meter be? If it's similar to other games, as an example, Valheim has a coziness level, I think, or whatever. It's something like coziness level or something along those, some kind of term like that. I can't remember the exact name because it's been so long since I played the game. But basically what happens is you put that item down, and what it does, it would, well, in this case, it would measure the coziness of your house or your base. And in Valheim, the example was the better bed you had, the more kind of, like if you had a fireplace nearby, carpets, basically if you built a nicer place where you slept, you would get a buff when you woke up. In Grounded, if you sleep, you do get a buff from sleeping in the bed. You get it's called comfy, I think it's comfy hunger and comfy thirst. So you get hungry and thirsty slower during the course of a day. So there is a benefit to that. But a coziness meter could be something where if you have it in your house, you could see how much more of a buff you're going to get. So that would make sense to be a system to test out. It would give more reason to maybe build a base in addition to the fact that they've added raids to the game, but especially if they add more decorations in the future. So maybe if you have it will give you more incentive to build the bed. Also to maybe have some kind of maybe they're going to add rugs or something like that. Maybe having the stuff bugs up. Maybe things like that will actually boost your coziness level and give you better buffs throughout the day. Now, the third one is going to be one that a feature that I've seen more often asked for than any other, and it's one that the developers pretty much said they had not planned on adding, and that is mounts. Now, I think mounts are, I would say it's probably unlikely they're going to get added, but if they were going to add them, it would definitely make sense to add them right now before the 1.0 update so that they could be tested out. because having those just thrown in at 1.0, I think that would be a huge game changer. It'd be on the level of game changerness as the level of the weather and stuff like that. The coziness meter coziness level could have some impact on the gameplay, but I don't think it would like be super necessary unless you just wanted to be like super meta and have just make sure you have the best stats for everything. I think a lot of people don't worry about that. They just play the game. But weather would have a huge impact and mounts would have a huge impact. So what insects could possibly be mounts? Now, of course, the one I would most like to have would be a bee, because I could just get on the bee, fly around the yard, and that would be great and just make super fast travel. It would, of course, have to be like a later game thing, because if you got that early on, you'd just be able to get all over the map fast. I think more likely than not, if they did add a mount, it would probably be something like a ladybug or perhaps a red worker ant, because those are both neutral. They won't attack you unless you attack them. They could also both fight for you. A bee would be harder because if they added a mount, you'd probably have to tame it. This could also go along with the pet enhancement section that is on the feature board. They did add pet gnats in this update, but other than that, there's not really any other things other than slight buffs to the pets in terms of how much HP they have. They won't die as easily, and they won't leave you if you make them unhappy. So they did make some changes to that, so that might be all of them. But I do think that it would make sense if they were going to add mounts to add them into this public test server, just so that we would test them out. And even a roly-poly would be pretty cool because they're pretty beefy. So let me know if they added mounts. And like I said, I don't think it's very likely they're going to do these. Of the three I've talked about so far, I think this is by far the least likely. Let me know which insect, if one, you would like to see as a mount in the comments down below. Now, the fourth and final one is going to be another one I've seen asked for. And honestly, after having played Terraria a little bit lately, I've been playing that kind of off stream for the last couple of weeks. That's going to be adding the ability to either climb or add a grappling hook. I've seen this asked about before, and the reason for that is, especially like later game, once you've kind of like know everywhere you want to go, building stairs to every location, or ladders, or even just the elevators and stuff like that, I think people get tired of building them, and being able to just traverse the map faster via either an ability to climb or perhaps with a grappling hook would possibly make sense. And of course, adding that would definitely need to be tested out. Of course, if this was added, I would see this probably being more to a mid to late game system that would be added, or feature that would be added, because getting it early on would just make the game probably too easy, because you'd just be able to climb everywhere. But as an example of how it could work, if they did a climbing mechanic, they could do something similar to how like the previous Zelda games have done, or in other games I think I've seen like Genshin Impact and stuff like that. I've never played that, but I've seen people play it, where when you're climbing, your stamina meter starts depleting. And as you get close to the top, like the faster you climb or the farther you climb, your stamina will start depleting. If your stamina gets all the way down to 0, you could just fall off or not be able to move anymore and have to stop and rest. They could also use the grappling hook. Once I got the grappling hook in Terraria, that was like a huge game changer for me, because no longer having to just build all over the place no longer having to run all over the worry about having ropes to get everywhere and making sure I don't fall too far. Being able to just grapple up the places, grapple over places, makes farming resources much easier in that game. In this game, it wouldn't be so much as a farming resource issue, although there are places where it would make sense, such as up on top of up under here, under the shed deck, where the pupil leather is. Like, maybe you don't want to just shoot your arrows up there. Maybe you don't have to deal with the ladybirds. So if there was a grappling hook, you could grapple up there, chop those down, and just get them much easier. Same thing with the caverns down here. You could easily just go through the caverns down here and traverse to the higher cliffs if you had a grappling hook. But like I said, it would have to be a late game resource late game feature that was added, because if you got it too early, it would make the game too easy. So those are the 4 systems I think might be coming. Like I said, I did not get access to the dev build, so none of the stuff was in there. In fact, I even reached out to one of the developers to make sure that none of this stuff was in that dev build. And while they couldn't say for sure 100%, they said they believed none of this information that I'm releasing right now was in the dev build, so I was okay to go ahead with the video. So of the systems I mentioned, let me know which ones you think, let me know which one you would most like to see, or the one you think that's most likely to be added during this public test server. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, you'll be able to play it as well, especially if you're not playing it on Steam, because right now I'm in my Steam build. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do anything in my main save because it's on the Game Pass Windows version, so I haven't been able to access the PTS in that. So let me know whether you think it's weather, the coziness system, mounts, or climbing. Which one do you think is most likely to be added? Which one do you think would most like to see? And if you have another one that I didn't mention, let me know about that in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Mateo Solis, Matthew Campbell, Stephen Van, the Overseer 91, and all my other channel members and patrons. You can get your name in the credits of future videos and support the channel by becoming a channel member or patron via the join card on the screen or the links in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.